We're going to talk about transforming India through disruptive technology and internet companies. And I think the panelists are already introduced, but I'll still go ahead and introduce him once more. So we have with us Balaji, who is looking after cloud ecosystem and digital marketplace for IBM. Devaki is a founding member of Grex, which is an exchange for startups and private investors. Tanuj, he made his first company called Appiterate, which he sold to Flipkart, and now he's working on his second startup, which is Loan Circle. And Mukund, who is a founder of Renew IT, which is a company that's trying to bridge the digital divide by selling refurbished computers to organizations. So I think we are going to split this into three segments. We'll start with the IT penetration and mobile issue, how big a problem that is for the country. We're going to talk about scaling a little bit. How do you go from a small startup to a massive company? We're going to talk about VC money, contentious issue. And if we have some time, we're going to talk about innovation. Before we start, I just want to do a quick poll to figure out how many people in the audience are already working in a startup. Okay, so predominant. All right. How many people are thinking of starting a startup? Okay, so that covers pretty much everyone, I think. So, Mukund, I want to start with you. You are directly working on the IT penetration issue, and it seems to be a huge problem. A lot of companies are selling to metros only right now because in many of the smaller places, people don't have access to the internet. So are there any insights or any direct experience anecdotes that you can share with us?
Yeah, I mean, in India, even though we say that a lot of the sale is happening in the metro, there are two issues predominantly. One is lack of infrastructure in smaller towns. You don't have electricity, you don't have internet. So even if you got a computer out there, probably people couldn't use it. And I've heard of people having to send a boy with like 10 cell phones to the nearest city, get it charged and come back, because even for mobile phones, they just don't have electricity to use them. And that happens really. In UP, I was there for like a week last month, and they said this is what we do. And the other thing is, it's a chicken and egg story. Without sales, you don't have support. Without support, you don't have sales. So you go to any town, they say, okay, we'll buy a computer from you, but who's going to support it for us? And without enough sale, it's impossible for anyone to provide support. Even the big companies like the Dells, HPs of the world have not been able to crack the support in tier 3 and smaller towns in India. So I was figuring out that the way it works is, if you have a laptop which you use in a tier 3 town, it goes to a tier 2 town, which is a hub for all the tier 3 towns around that hub. Then it gets aggregated there, and then it goes to the nearest metro where it gets serviced, and then goes back to tier 2 town, and then to the tier 3 town. So that's like 1 month of downtime if your laptop or your computer is not working. Just doesn't make sense. So these are the issues that we don't have answers to yet, but I'm hoping that someday we can crack them.
So, Devaki, do you have any, when you're discussing business ideas with startups or even investors, is that really an important theme that comes out, IT penetration, that people don't have access to the internet?
Not actually. I mean, what happens is, when we are looking at companies, we look at more curated companies. We are looking at safeguarding the investors as well, on giving them certain companies which are curated, which are due diligently ready to come on the platform, because we run a platform for people here. We are trying to create an exchange for the unlisted companies, which means that we are getting the startups and the investors together, and we are getting them together to probably investors to invest in early stage companies, and startups to probably get get the funding. So when it comes to information technology, or if I have to really club that up, if you see from a different angle, right? What he was talking about, the tier 2, tier 3 cities, in terms of you are into the refurbishing business, if I'm not wrong. So Yeah, we are looking at innovative technology platforms, but yes, I wouldn't know what kind of technology are you selling instead of getting the laptops or other tablets and stuff like that to go to a tier 2 or tier 3 cities. If we see that the the product range is good, or if the companies are coming in that aspect, yeah, we will definitely look into that. A, B, we are doing a lot of information exchange in terms of a lot of things happening in the startup piece in the ecosystem today. So that is one good thing which we are looking forward for in terms of getting innovative startups on the platform and getting not only IT or cloud or e-commerce things on the platform, but yes, we are looking at biocon or pharma business to come and join us in a different scale.
Okay. Tanuj, I just want to come to you. You worked on mobile very closely, right? And mobile is clearly one of the ways how this whole IT penetration issue is really being solved. That is really the most effective solution that's out there. So specifically, I just want to focus on this app-only debate. And there's so many companies out there. My company itself, a huge amount of investment goes into creating multiple interfaces. Right? You have a web interface, Android interface, iOS interface, and so on. So, what's your take on this debate? Both, when you were building Appiterate and when you were at Flipkart, and you saw, how they're selling right now to their consumers.
So the debate between app and web, just a pure browser based. So I think app is just one. In my view, this is a very very heated debate. But in my view, this is just a kind of a short-term aberration because in the end, the reason why an app exists is that you can't kind of do real-time. If you need to have something locally stored so that even with a poor internet, things the user experience is intact, right? Now, will we have computing power coming in which will allow you to kind of have a web-like experience, on the browser on your mobile phone? Yes, someday, yes. I mean, sometime in the near future. Having said that, it's a very, like the whole startup world is kind of split, somewhere. In the short term, everyone agrees that app is the way to go because again, it's sticky, right? So if you get your app, on someone else's system, it is there on the home screen. So, companies are spending big dollars getting their apps, on the phone. So short term, yes, apps is the winner. Long term, my view is browser will get back the way it has, but let's see, right? The other difference is that on the mobile phone, it's a limited screen space, so you're better off tapping than typing, right? So having an app makes it easier to kind of get to where you want to get in less, you don't have to type a lot, whereas on the browser you can kind of type on the web. So yeah, let's see.
So how are you doing it right now at Lone Circle? Do you have an app and do you have a website as well?
See, generally a startup will start with web presence, right? Because web is very easy to, it's more dynamic, right? I can change my website 10 times a day. Every time it loads up fresh in front of the user. So I know, what I want to build for the user. Day zero, that's generally what I have seen. There are app-only companies which may have a different strategy. And then once you kind of have a hang of what is your end user really, what's the need, what's the pain point, that is when, you launch your first app. So at least for us, it's been web first for the first 6 months, and now we are launching our app. And the thing with the app is that, it has to be good experience, right? Yeah. It cannot be, a wrapper, or it cannot be, just one simple app, because then, there's no point of having the app. You rather have a web presence. Yeah.
So how big a pain is that for you to be now maintaining these two interfaces? You have a web front-end guy and you have a app guys as well?
Yeah, it's not that
not a big deal.
Bigger pain, I would like to believe. The app obviously, gives you a much bigger access in terms of, the Android penetration is such that, you can just get. So it's a question of ROI, right? At one point, it just makes sense to make that investment. But yes, at, larger scales, companies do kind of face this problem where, the roadmaps kind of become divergent, and, how do you maintain multiple properties, and, are they at the same level? The Android app seems to be generally ahead, and then, the iOS is lagging, and then the web is giving a different experience. So that experience becomes divergent. Yeah, but I think we'll have to live with that for some time, some more years at least.
Balaji, you are looking at the digital marketplace for IBM, and I think you have a lot of tools for businesses that they can use for, I guess, a lot of tech stuff and CRM stuff as well. So do you see a lot of mobile presence there?
Sorry. So there are two elements to this. So initially what used to happen was that web was a route to market, because you had companies which, so whether it was Flipkart initially or whether it was even Pepperfry or any of these guys, they built their own furniture or they got it done and then they sold it, and that was a route to market. The new trend in the last 2 years is localization. So a phone just helps you get things within a 1, 2, 3 kilometer radius, and that just helps in terms of making it more efficient. There's always a back-end challenge. Even today, while everybody is moving on to an app only, there are certain elements of business, specifically around B2B, where web presence is very critical. Although people say they want to buy things online when they're buying for their organization, typically the process is a little more complicated. People want to go through, they want to check multiple sites. A lot of what works in mobile is, for example, it's very difficult to flip screens in mobiles to buy something. So you have apps to just compare prices. When the product you're buying is niche, that is not there. In which case you will need web presence, you'll need to do that whole Googling. So it really depends upon what your business is. There is a direction where app is becoming the go-to space, but it has not percolated to every element of the whole tech.
From the audience, people who are running startups, does anybody have anything to add on app only? Yeah.
Sure. You want to know something, some specific stuff, or?
No, how does it work actually? It's only to
Oh, so
identify.
I think I will take that individually
Yeah, I think
with you.
let's do that
because,
after that.
yeah.
Anybody has any perspective on app only? How many people here are building products which are app only? So, Sakya, can you tell us a little bit about your product and tell us why you chose that route?
Right now are only on the web. Down the line, about 6 months to 8 months from now, we will develop app. But in my view, app is another channel, and it should not. I mean, in my perspective, should not be the only channel. I look at B2B and to some extent B2C directly. So for us, I think web is the way to go. As you said, that it will come back, bounce back as much. Because we are into service space, we are into training portal, so, and market is US, and a lot of our sales happen through corporates. So I think web is the way to be there. For very small stuff, very localized stuff, yes, you want to order food, app is the way, it's fine. Quickly, 1 tap, 2 taps, 3 taps, you can check out. But not in a complicated product, not in a product where you want to see the details, you want to go into the specifics, you want to go to the characteristics of the product and all that.
Right.
So,
Is there anybody who has a counterpoint, doing only app and not doing web at all?
Yeah, we are into e-logistics, and wherever we see predominant use of, location-based services, I think app is a good way to reach out to the customer base. Another point is about app is the personalization that it offers, and of course, one of the biggest things of apps is the notification, the push notifications, which is now both in Android as well as in iOS. So push notifications help you in engaging with the customer. So that I think is one of the major features which developers or marketeers can leverage from apps.
Right. Thank you. So let's just move on to the next thing, which is scaling. And Mukund, I want to start with you again. So I recently went to Dharwad. It's a place in northern Karnataka, and so it looked like a reasonably big town. I came back and checked the population of the city, and it's 1 million. Frankfurt, just to contrast that, Frankfurt, which is one of the major economic centers of Europe, it's 600,000 people. And the previous panel, I think before lunch, they were also discussing this fact of how some companies, some startups are entering these tier 2 cities. But So very recently there was a news story about Grofers and I think Zomato order scaling back, pulling back their service from these tier 2 cities. And 1 million people is a huge, huge, huge market, and there are so many cities in India like that. So how do you, crack this market? Clearly, it's not very easy to do. Maybe Flipkart and Amazon can do it right now because they have deep pockets. But for smaller companies, startups who are just starting out, how do they go about conquering this market?
So again, I guess it depends on the product or the service. I guess it depends on the product or the service. So if there's something which is more of a repeated usage kind of a thing, like a taxi hailing service, then even a million population is good enough, or a food delivery. But I guess food delivery didn't work out, so they're scaling back. But then you've seen, I think Uber is present in 103 cities across the US, and in India they're present in 65 cities. And the Uber of China, which is Didi Kaidi, is present in, I think, 200 plus cities. So it just depends on what service it is. But for something like ours, where we sell computers, it's not a repeated usage kind of a thing. And if you look at the Indian census data, it's 1 in 10 houses have a computer. So clearly, there is no ecosystem out there. So building an ecosystem is a much longer haul. You have to create the support. You have to. A lot of parents don't know what they'll use a computer at home for. So they're like, without internet, what can we use it for? And can we buy CDs for everything? So there's a. So it just depends. I mean, if it's something like selling of a computer, then you need to create the awareness, create support partners, create after-sales support. But if it's something like a ride-hailing app, then a million town is a pretty big town.
So let's forget about tier 2 cities for a while. And let's just look at scaling as a problem for young startup. So are there any challenges that you face on a daily basis, and how are you overcoming them, both at Appitrate and now at Lone Circle?
So Appitrate was a fairly short journey, 1.5 years, and it was a B2B technology product. So the scaling challenges, I think what we are discussing, they were very different, and we didn't really get a chance to scale that much, to be honest. For this one, yes, we are more of in the the local business where we are interacting with the consumer. We're doing retail loans. So the trouble that we have is that because it's a loan product, it can come from anywhere in India. It's not it's not a hyper local. It's a loan, right? Anywhere, anyone sitting in eastern parts of India can also apply. Now, either we have a blanket policy of saying we will not provide you a loan, or you have to find some ways. One thing that has worked for us is identifying existing networks that are capable of servicing in those areas. So this is one interesting angle that this one interesting problem that recently came up, that there are already, for example, our specific example, there are DSAs present in each major cities, direct selling agents, which are already working for banks. So there are networks, and as a startup, I think you're only adding a layer in terms of the consumer presence, and the having a manpower in like 200 cities in India is kind of a very long-term challenge that you will solve. But in the short term, it makes sense to kind of partner up with existing players and kind of have them. The challenge there is having them adhere to your turnaround times and your processes. That's the bigger challenge. So yeah, we are right now just in the process of figuring out how big that challenge is. It's a 6-month journey.
I would like to add to this. We are seeing a lot of traffic from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities from the startups, because these startups are probably working for say around 1.5-2 years, and now they want to really scale up. So to address the scaling point which you said, these are the people, or these are the co-founders who are coming up to us and asking us where we can help them. I recently was at Aurangabad, a small town again in Maharashtra, no more a small town. So they have a tie in Aurangabad. I was really surprised. Around 25 to 30 companies are already a part of that, TIE. So things are improving in these areas as well. And there are good companies which are coming out from these areas.
Right.
Like we are looking at funding 2 companies from tier 2 cities right now. So we are looking at how the model can be processed, how they can benefit and stuff like that. So,
Scaling in general, Devki, just if you can add a little bit here, for folks who are building startups right now, what tips would you give to people? So getting an idea on paper is very easy. Getting a few users who like your building a product is also not very difficult actually these days. Getting a few people who like your product is also not that big a deal. But how do you go from there to say a million
Sure.
active users, a
so
million customers?
initially everything looks very rosy. As you rightly said, when you put it in black and white, you feel that, man, I'm going to make it. I'm going to probably become the next Sachin Bansal of India or XYZ. Now, you know what? Where things, I couldn't get any other example. So, where all the startups or the co-founders need to know now is be very serious about the documentation. Right from the day one, when you are probably starting a setup, do that. Documentation is something which is very important because it is going to take you places. We are seeing a lot of good companies who probably have just forgotten to, look at their income tax returns, whether they are they are generating revenue or not. Now, so Vinny, I think back to you on
Not
that.
filing your tax returns?
No, not him. We were discussing yesterday. So, that is something which every entrepreneur today has to look into, right from the day when they actually start doing things.
Right.
And trust me, things will work out for you guys, because many a times you will get stuck at a paper,
Yeah.
and then you will go all your way back, and then, then again you will get into the same thing.
So,
He is smiling.
Tanuj, I'll just come back to you for a second. Let's just stay with scaling. Now, acquiring users is the first thing that you do, getting them to your platform. And what, in your business at least, what kind of drop rates that you see? How many people are really staying with your business, say 3 months down the line?
Okay. So, we are not on the app right now. So maybe, it's not the perfect example for us. And in any ways, our business is very different because we are in the business of giving money, not, providing a service for money. So, in our case, we are very selective in terms of who we give out money to. But a good example is actually, the other bigger companies. For example, we had the chance to work with Flipkart and Snapdeal at various points of time. So there is a tremendous amount of money that kind of gets wasted just because you spend $1 each, on getting a download each on each of the users, and 3-month drop rates, uninstall rates are, as high as 60-70%. So, you might end up, if you don't have, as someone just mentioned, that engagement on the app through notification and all becomes very critical. Otherwise, all the money that you've put in kind of can go down the drain because people will uninstall the app. And the other funny thing that ends up happening is, the people end up changing their phones in 9 months. So, what happens there? You end up losing that money as well. So, yeah.
Okay. Balaji, now you are at IBM, and